This was actually a spec home, which spec home means basically is, either a group of investors get together or someone buys the property and, gut the insides. They redo everything on the interior and the exterior and end up hoping someone wants to buy it after they invest a lot of money into it. Given the location of where the home is and then also the square footage and the type of home that it is, you're getting a lot more people wanting to have a space for a wine cellar inside the house or a custom sauna or something like that. These are, I'd say, just add-ons or luxury upgrades that people are leaning towards more and more, to where even if they don't drink wine, or if they don't know if the client's going to drink wine, who's going to be purchasing the home, they still would like to add it as an addition because it boosts property value. It boosts the ambiance of the home. It gives it, it gives it style. It does. It adds to the space. So whether someone drinks wine or not when they're purchasing the home, and let's just say if they do at least drink alcohol, if you have a wine cellar, it's a pretty cool addition. Yeah, I mean, the main thing is with finding the location of where you want to put the wine cellar and where you have space to do it, especially mechanically, is something that we usually have to figure out during the demo and rebuild process. So we're in the beginning stages working with the architect to where if they're saying, hey, I think that we would like to add a display case wine cellar in the dining room, which this is located in a dining area. We would approach the situation to where, okay, how far are we from an exterior wall? Are we on the first floor? Are we on the second floor? Is there a crawl space underneath? Do we have enough space to get our mechanical and our drain line from this specific area to where it needs to go? Because if it doesn't work mechanically, it's not going to work for the space. Otherwise, you'll just have a wine cellar that's not temperature controlled, but then that's not really considered a wine cellar. It's just, you're storing wine in a regular temperatured room. So during the process, we go through these different situations and see how we can at least take the space where the client or the architect has already envisioned it to be and make it happen, make it work. So we work together as a team with them to make sure that all the different obstacles that we might run into are conquered, and we figure it out. The design intent was to be able to give enough room for that dining area, so we're not coming into that dining area more than we need to. Plus, there is a window there, and they wanted to do a specific amount of decoration, so there was only a certain amount of space that we had. So the racking system is what you would call the Vino post. And so the Vino posts are vertical metal posts that then sit on brackets that have metal pegs that are horizontal. So the butt sits on the back side of the peg, and then the neck sits on the front side. And so then you would end up being able to see the labels of your wine sitting on this racking system. And so the way that we did it as to where you get like an aisle view down the center, and you have your racks on the left and right side. And yeah, it just, once it's filled up with wine, it's a very simple racking system, but it's elegant and modern, and it works. What that is, that those are floating shelves, and these floating shelves, they can either put bottles horizontally or they can also stand bottles vertically. And then there's decanting area, which would be the countertop back there, which, if you're opening a bottle or having people over and you want to take 3, 4, or 5 bottles out, and you would just set them down on that countertop in the back there. And you could do your whole decanting, opening the bottles, etc. And then below that, you have some rectangular storage to where you could put cases, you could put wine glasses, you could do, a myriad of things in that space, put your decanters, etc. So it's a universal storage there at the bottom. If you look at the detail of the lighting, so with the lighting, what they wanted to do was be able to accent the bottles to where the light runs up and down and washes the front of the bottles. And so having to do that, you have to place the light, which is recessed into the ceiling and recessed into the floor, which I think is an amazing way of accenting lighting inside a wine cellar or with this specific racking system, because then you don't see the channel. It doesn't protrude. It's very clean. So what we did was we measured out exactly where the lighting should go. So it hits, it doesn't hit the bottle exactly. It hits right in front of the bottle. So the light's able to wash up and down from the ceiling and from the floor. And we did the same thing on the back side as well, next to the glass enclosure on the right side. In this wine cellar, we used the Whisper Cool Ceiling Mount 8000. And so the Whisper Cool Ceiling Mount 8000 is a system that it's a split system. You have a compressor outside, and then you have an evaporator coil located inside. This evaporator coil needs to be recessed into the ceiling. So depending on what you have above your ceiling, if you have ducting running through it or wires, lines, etc., those have to be out of the way. The framer creates a box that is built in between the framing for this system to recess into. There's also a insulation jacket that goes on top of the system. So it's like let's say a square box, but when you're looking at it in the ceiling, it looks like it's flush with the ceiling, and it might be something like more low profile, but it's not. It's actually, I believe the height of that is somewhere around 14 or so inches. It butts up right up with the drywall because there's a flange that goes around the cooling unit. And then that's how we mount it, is we mount it into the drywall, and all the mechanical and necessities that are connected to it is up above the ceiling. And then to service it, there's a hatch at the bottom that actually pulls down, and then you can go in and service the system from the interior of the wine cellar from the bottom of the system. In this design, it shows that it's more of closer to a frameless glass, but what we end up doing is a custom steel enclosure. The custom steel enclosure, it allows you to get more of a better seal, more of retaining the temperature inside the wine cellar. And so the custom steel frame is actually insulated with spray foam insulation within the tubing of the actual steel structure. And then you have dual pane insulated glass, and the door has a threshold weather stripping. It's 100% sealed like an exterior grade door, because when the steel is made, it's hollow on the interior, right? So if there's no thermal break between that frame then also will end up condensating. So purchasing just your regular door frames is not that's why you want to go with something that's made to be in a refrigerated environment, because you might buy some steel doors or aluminum doors, but if they don't have a thermal break in between, then you could end up with problems. I would consider it on the smaller end. 336 bottles isn't that much, but for a display cellar and for a cellar that, obviously it's a spec home, so they don't know if the client is going to be into wine or not. So 336 bottles is enough to keep someone entertained, even if they're a moderate wine collector. 336 bottles is enough to keep them entertained to where they can put their more desired bottles within this space. And so these are all 750 milliliter bottles. On the front side, that would be the right side if you're facing the door. You have bottles on the front of the post and on the back of the post. And it's a pretty cool feature that you can utilize with this racking system. So You can have, you can reach bottles from the interior. And then if you have a glass front or side, you can also display bottles in front of the glass with that front and back feature. So what we did was we made it to where it was at least comfortable for someone walking down an aisle. Now, this isn't a commercial space, so it doesn't have to be ADA compliant. ADA compliant means that you need it to be at least 36 inches wide for a wheelchair to go down an aisle. This is in a home, so we didn't have to do that. But there is at least 29 inches or so of walk space down the middle. So it works. I think the last thing that I'd like to mention on this one is, since it is on a second floor, we do have to spray foam underneath it. And so anytime that you have a wine cellar on the second floor, you have to spray. If it's not on a concrete slab, you have to spray foam underneath it. So we had to have them have the ceiling underneath open for us to spray foam underneath the space. And then we also spray foam the left wall and the back wall and the ceiling and around the top of the cooling system. But if you ever have a wine cellar on the second floor, you do need to insulate the floor. Otherwise, you will end up having mold and mildew growing underneath the space. But that's why that's why they hire us, so we can give them all the details that they need, and they understand what they're doing at the end of the day. That our main goal is to teach and give people the proper resources to be able to make the correct decisions, rather than just feeling like they could do it themselves, going online, buying a product, and have no idea really how it's going to work.
Upgrade your home with a custom-made sauna from Vintage Cellars. Transform your space into a relaxing retreat. Call us today to bring your dream sauna to life.